The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. Jeffrey Wands is my special guest this hour. We're going to be talking to Jeffrey about Knock and the Door Will Open, 6 Keys to Mastering the Art of Living. Jeffrey is the author of Another Door Opens and The Psychic in You. He appears frequently on national television, including Extreme Makeover, Home Edition, Today Show, Maury, and A&E's Mediums. We see dead people, in addition to hosting his own weekly radio program, Psychic Sunday, on Long Island's WALK 97.5 FM. Jeffrey is a popular guest on radio programs across the country, including here on the X-Zone. And Jeffrey, always great having you. Tell us a little bit about your new book, Knock and the Door Will Open.
I mean, basically, this is a lot more offbeat for me. It's more about having people or helping people be able to change their life, and I kind of break it down into 6 keys. And one of my favorite keys is, the soulmate section, because doing radio all the time, I get people that call up, they're like, I met my soulmate, and it ends up not being their soulmate, it ends up being their cellmate, of course. So yeah. It's a whole different element, but I kind of like give people some working stuff to work with to what you are able to connect with your soulmate. And I tell people it doesn't always have to be in a love way. It could be a best friend that's a soulmate. It isn't always, in that capacity, I married my soulmate, I found my soulmate. Soulmates can be a best friend, they could be a son, they could be a daughter, so it could be on that level.
What are some of the, is that the most frequent question you get asked during your talk show?
Constantly. Right now, the big thing is money, and am I going to find my husband?
Well, if he's, so what are they saying? How am I going to find the guy who has a lot of money, or how am I going to find the money, then the guy?
Usually it's more like, how do I find the guy? And I tell people it's intention. And my belief system is what you put out, you receive. So if you put out negative energy, you're going to keep finding patterns in your life where you keep repeating things. And it becomes, a very dominant factor. And I tell people, I've had stuff, perfect example of this with the soulmate thing. I had a young lady come to me, and her mom never liked anyone she dated. So she finally found somebody, her mother had passed away, and she was like hemming and hawing about marrying the guy because she was worried, his mom from the other side going to like him, love him, or whatever. And I was very blunt with her. I'm like, look, your mother never liked anybody because of the fact that your mom controlled you when she was here, and you're going to throw your whole marriage away because you're worried if your mom likes him or not.
Especially now that she's passed and gone to the other side.
Exactly, and those are all things that I've come across with different patterns with people where they have such a hard time releasing this and letting this go and being able to move ahead.
Jeffrey, stand by. You and I have to take a 2-minute commercial break. Thanks for joining us tonight. X-Zone Nation, Jeffrey Wands, our special guest. His new book, Knock and the Doors Will Open, 6 Keys to Mastering the Art of Living. His website is www.jeffreywands.com. That's JEFFREYWANDS.com. 1-800-610-7035, toll-free worldwide. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com, and 2 websites to remember, www.xzoneradiotv.com and www.xzonetv.com. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break in 2 minutes with Jeffrey Wands, talking about his brand new book, Knock on the Door. Let's try this again. Knock and the Door Will Open, 6 Keys to Mastering the Art of Living. My name's Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone. Back in 2. Don't go away.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone broadcast network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies.
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows.
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
Hello, I'm Justina Marsh, and with my dad Pete, we are going to present a new show called Too Good to Be True. Together, we are aiming to discover more truths about this world and beyond. Do you have unanswered questions about the world? Do you ever wonder about aliens, conspiracy theories, or the universe? There are many shows discussing subjects such as pyramids or UFOs, but we want to relay this information based on our own research, including from spiritual means. Hopefully, listeners will be helped with their own beliefs and will appreciate the psychic insights that add to the previous research and information. We both look forward to sharing this insight and beginning this journey with our listeners. Visit xzbn.net for more information about when to listen.
Jeffrey Wands is our special guest. Knock and the Door will be open. 6 Keys to Mastering the Art of Living. Living is his new book. His website is www.jeffreywands.com. Jeffrey, what are the 6 keys to mastering the art of life or living?
I mean, I think, I broke it down. I think the first step you got to do is you got to evaluate yourself. That's the first thing. And what I tell people is I kind of look like life is a jigsaw puzzle. It's kind of like making energy work for you. And usually when people evaluate themselves, they're following the same negative patterns. They're following the same disappointments. They're carrying things over and over and over and over. And I kind of take the first key as being able to evaluate yourself so that you understand what it is that's holding you up, what's causing you not to let go, and what's causing you from really getting to where you're supposed to be. Probably the second one, we talked about relationships,
Yes.
The idea of bringing in your optimum partner, that would be the second key. The third key would be making sure your home is your castle. That's one of my favorites. I'm sure if we looked at your desk and my desk, we'd find a pile of papers and books and everything else, and that's not good. And I tell people it's like you want to make your home a reflection of who you are. Even if you don't have a lot of money and money is an issue, you can make something really be appealing, and that creates energy, and that's, the third key. The fourth key is really about learning to bring prosperity into your life. I have people that I get, and they say, I don't understand why I never have money and things never go my way, and they have this constant negativity. It's like, having a rain cloud over your head, and you're just expecting the worst, and you're attracting the worst, and then the worst becomes an issue, and this is all part of it. So that key is number 4, which would bring more prosperity into your life. I think that the fifth key, which a lot of people get away from, and I'm not necessarily endorsing any particular religion, but I tell people we don't have enough spiritual strength. We don't have enough faith with things, that things are going to work themselves out, and that would be the fifth key. And then the sixth key is trying to find a nice, healthy balance in your emotional and your physical life. So to me, those are the six major keys of living, which are the things that you should be doing and practicing to get your life to where you want it to be.
Let's say that you've got someone who is in a relationship and they're positive. You know, they go out and they schlep their work 5 days of the week. They go to church on Sunday. They're spiritual. They keep their house as best as possible based on financial restraints, that everyone is very aware of these days. However, the girl or the guy of their dream, the person that they believe is their soulmate, is negative. He can't do nothing right. She can't do nothing right. And there's constant negativity on one side. How does this affect the person who we said should be positive, to have a positive outlook?
I think the first thing to do is when you're evaluating yourself and you're getting to the soulmate part next, you would look at this and say, hey, what do I see that's a pattern? Well, my dad was real negative, so who did I marry? I married my dad, okay? So my dad was always half empty with the glass, always expecting the worst. So it's like once you can evaluate it, then you can maybe point it out and make that person make some changes to turn it around, because I tell people it's energy, and if you can constantly put out this negativity, it's like yin and yang. You're going to get that negativeness back. And usually I find it to be when I look at the patterns of a person and I'm sitting with somebody, I'll see right away, well, oh my God, your dad was this person. He never took chances. He never did this. Yeah, he was a union worker. He was a good guy, but he had opportunities to go in his own business. He was always afraid. He was this, he was that. And now look what I created. I created, the same life with a different man. And it's that element of being able to change that, and that would be my approach, which is saying, hey, how can I help this person get out of their own way? And that's where you evaluate it. So you could say, what the first step is maybe I'll, look at this and say, I'll make a goal right now and say, I see myself in this new job. This is the most ideal job that I could ever possibly have. So here I am, I'm working, in the union, but maybe I'll start doing, the side work, and the side work's going to lead me into my own business, and the own business is going to bring me into success. So it's just a whole mindset, which is just helping people, not get in their own way.
Jeffrey, people are very poor at evaluating themselves. How do you get a person how do you get a person to be totally honest?
Well, I think I put a little bit of a work thing in the book, which is just basically saying, if you catch yourself constantly doing the same thing, I think that's where you got to be honest. Like, you sit down and say, well, what am I happy, doing what I do? For me personally, I love what I do. I mean, I have my moments where, you want to smack people in the head and say, hey, you didn't hear what I'm saying to you. Mom's saying that she's okay, and Mom's moved on, and you need to stop feeling guilty about the fact that you wouldn't let Mom go. So, I mean, these are all parts, but you go through your list. It's like you look at what's around you. I tell people, you attract what's in your world. So if you're dissatisfied with your world, then that's because you're bringing, the wrong people in your life, and that's what you got to change. So these are all parts of it. So, I mean, the easiest way is to make a list. I have it in the book. Sit down and make a basic list and say, you know what? I love my wife. I have great kids. I have great people around me, but I don't necessarily like the friends. I don't necessarily like the people that I hang out with. So you could change that. It's all a mindset.
How does one bring more prosperity into their life?
I think, I have always told people to follow a path, which is basically you set goals and you set structure and you set things up and you keep working it until it falls into place. And probably the most famous example of that is that a very, very famous singer, and she was like up against the wall. She hit everything humanly possible that would stop her from being successful. Well, now 10 platinum records later, she's super successful all over the map and all over the world. So the point was that she never lost her focus of what her dream was. Granted, you have to be honest when you evaluate yourself and say, if you're on American Idol and you can't sing and you've gotten thrown off American Idol, that should tell you something that, that's not a viable career.
How long do you keep on trying? Like, when do you know it's time to get off of that train because the train's going to the wrong station for you?
I think what you have to do, which is the first step, is being honest with yourself and saying, hey, I put myself 2 years. This is my plan. If it doesn't work out in 2 years, then I'm going to take something else on. And usually I find it is if you're honest when you're evaluating and you're honest about your goal, ultimately you do get to a place. You may not be, the next Bill Gates. You may not be the next Donald Trump, but you do get to a place where you're very sustainable and you're very happy in what you're doing.
Do you find people at times set their goals way too high?
Oh, absolutely. One of the things I talk about in the book is you got to be realistic with your goal. Set high, but don't. It's like saying, I want a 20-story building. Don't set it for the Chicago Towers. That's not realistic right now. It doesn't mean it won't be realistic down the road, but first accomplish the little parts of the puzzle.
Jeffrey Wands is our special guest. We're talking about Jeffrey's new book this hour, Knock and the Door Will Open, 6 Keys to Mastering the Art of Living. His website is www.jeffreywands.com. What was the hardest chapter for you to write in your book?
I would say probably the emotional one, which is being honest, because I'm probably one of the worst people when it comes to trying to balance my work and my emotional health and everything else, because I'm such a workaholic, and I always never say no to people, and maybe that was something that I needed to look at to do, and the books kind of helped me take a different approach to make sure that I'm in a more balanced world.
So why did you decide to write this book, Jeff?
I thought it was something different. It's something that I live by every day, and I thought it would be an interesting element, because people always ask me, what is it like to do what you do, and how do you live your life every day? And this is like something for me to share so that other people could do it and allow themselves to, maybe share in the riches of the way I do things.
How important is it for mom and dad to spend time with the family?
I think it's a major thing. I mean, I wasn't as fortunate. I never knew my dad. I grew up without a father, but I had a father role who played a very big role in my life. So I would say most definitely it helps that they're there. I mean, in this day and age, there are so many homes that have both parents working.
Right.
As long as you pick the time to be quality time, that's what makes the difference. It doesn't have to be 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. It has to be you picking the right times.
Why does spirituality play such a big part in, mastering the art of living?
I think because people ask me all the time, what is my reference point? Because I get people will come from different religions, and they're like, ooh, I don't know if I can come to you because you're the devil, or, you may be getting the information from the devil. And I tell people, like, the spirituality, we're born spiritual. You don't become spiritual. And it's just learning how to hone it and use it. And I think having the faith is like having the energy. And if you can hone the energy and make the energy work for you, then the sky's the limit.
So even in the year 2010, there's still a dogma attached to people who do psychic readings and want to help people?
Every time I do national TV, I do get letters from different parts of the United States where, I'm being attacked because they think this is the devil, what I'm doing.
Where does the reference to the devil come in? I've yet to see it in any theological book.
I don't either, but I wasn't, these are usually one-sided letters, which are bleep, 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 and, go screw yourself. So, it's, you're the devil, you're going to hell. So, I mean, I've yet to find it either, but I'm not an expert on religion by any means.
Do you find more and more people in today's society are looking to psychic phenomenon as a possible connection with a better tomorrow?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it's changed a lot in the 20-plus years that I've been doing it. It went from being all women to 50-50 men, from judges to lawyers to professional people. So it's definitely changed tremendously. I mean, I tell people, especially with someone like myself, you want to go to someone that someone has had some sort of personal experience with. And you got to be careful, like anything else. And I had talked about this in my first book. We're real big in New York about the gypsies, and I get people, I can't tell you, maybe 4 or 5 people a week that have gone to gypsies. And I've said, oh my God, this person told me all these things and then told me I was cursed. And if they break an egg open in the cemetery, and my great-great-grandmother was cursed, and that's why, I've never found a good, healthy relationship. And I laugh because I had this one woman, and I was like, well, maybe you think the problem is you're attracting married men all the time. That's why you're not having good relationships. So, you think that might be an issue, Rob.
Jeff, stand by.
So,
Jeffrey, stand by. You and I have to take a commercial break. Yeah, you've got to love the callers, and you've got to love those people who seek the advice of people like yourself, Jeffrey, who are gifted and who go out of their way to make other people's lives that much better. Jeffrey Wands is our special guest. www.jeffreywands.com. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. Don't go away. We'll be back on the other side of the news.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies,
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows,
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
Jeffrey Wands is our special guest this hour, Exonation, www.jeffreywands.com. Jeffrey has a new book that has come out entitled Knock and the Door Will Open, 6 Keys to Mastering the Art of Living. Once again, his website, www.jeffreywands.com. Jeffrey, before we went to the news break, we were talking about the gypsy fortune tellers. Now, what do they have that draws people to them in giving them $60,000, $70,000 in cash or jewelry? And you know, I've even heard of a case in the Niagara region where the show used to be done from CKTB, where this lady actually got bilked of cash, cars, furniture, and land.
I'm not surprised. You know what? I think they do have some ability, but I think what happens is that they kind of exploit the vulnerable, and they're able to kind of hit on things. Mm-hmm. And I think what happens is usually they kind of stake them out, they smell them out. I had one in New York, I'll never forget this. Lovely little Italian woman, must have been in her early 60s. Daughter was never married. I remember doing house parties for her probably 25 years ago. And her calling me one day all crying because this woman, you know, she ran into on the street. This woman told her, your daughter will never be happy unless you do this, this, and this, and then $40,000 later. And she basically arranged for the daughter to meet somebody at the subway. You know, like anything that could make herself look good, she did. So it's just amazing.
That is...
I mean, I think some of them really do have ability. I just think that they take it to a whole nother level because they are gypsies and thieves.
There sure are. You know, what is it with the gypsy curse? You know, we've heard about it throughout the time. They're great actors. They should be on stage. The next one leaving town, most of them, in handcuffs. But that's another show for another time. Why would a person go to a gypsy? In fact, why do people find themselves going to psychics?
Well, I think with us, like my work is more about closure because
Mm-hmm.
I get a lot of people that have lost kids, or I get a lot of people with suicides and they're having a really, really hard time accepting the fact of why that person picked that time to go. And I think more with the gypsies, it's more where that person is in such a bad state of mind and they're just looking for the answers that they want to hear, and they're going to grasp at straws and do just about anything to get to there.
A lot
and
of
that's
people...
why they go in that direction.
You know, we used to have psychics on. We'd open up the phone lines, and you'd get the same questions. You'd get the same callers. And I know that you and I were talking that you have a 6-month no callback rule on your show. And you were saying that people try to disguise their voice, and, they try these various tricks, and, obviously you know who they are, and you give them the same rating. People say, am I going to find Mr. or Mrs. Right? Well, are you looking for them? Do they know you're available? What are you doing? It's just like a person that would say, am I going to get that job I applied for, or am I going to get a better job? Well, have you applied for one? They expect you as a psychic to give them the magic pill that's going to make their world all better without realizing that they have to do a lot of work in order to make it happen.
Agreed. They don't want the responsibility. They want to give me the responsibility.
So how do you deal with this? And like somebody calls you today and then 6 months later they call you back, they ask you the same question. Do they ever challenge you on why certain things have never happened? And if so, how do you handle it?
Yes, and I'm able to point out to them and say, hey, it's like what you said about the job. If you don't go looking for a job, as good as I am, how can you possibly expect to find a job? You have to put yourself in that place. You have to make that energy happen for you. I mean, if you're constantly fighting with your coworkers and you're applying for, a promotion at your job, how do you expect to get a job if you can't, politically be correct and do things in the right way? But that's kind of what I'm able to do with people. I kind of point out where their obstacles are and how to get rid of their obstacles.
In hard economic times like now, are more and more people coming to you for advice or for assistance in ending these financial woes?
I think they're more afraid about taking the wrong choices right now. I'll have people saying, should I buy the house? Can I afford the house? I mean, I tell people I'm not a financial planner by any means, and I'm here to try to help you find a direction. I had more people now taking chances about going into businesses and being successful because this is the right time for them to do it. So I think more of it right now is people get panicky in rough times. The end of the world is not coming. I mean, even though everybody thinks 2012 we're not going to be here, I hate to disappoint everybody. We're still going to be here.
Yeah, I agree with you 110%, and I'd like to know why people believe we're not going to be here, because even the Mayans are saying, hey, we never said that. All we said it was the end of the cycle, like you people taking your calendar off the wall on January the 1st and putting a new one up.
Exactly. It's just people like to hear that. I remember with 2000, the year 2000,
oh my gosh, yeah,
I was listening to a particular radio host, and he was telling on how the computers are going to crash, and the planes are going to fall out of the sky. Did any of that happen? Of course not.
Nope, but a lot of people got suckered into buying a lot of useless stuff that they couldn't use January the 1st.
You got it. So it's all part of it. Yeah, maybe some people had some little computer glitches because of the programs, but I mean, that's it. But it just amazes me, with people, the gullibility. It's like, I hold myself to a high standard, and I try to do what I can do to help you. If I can't help you, I won't sit with you.
As well, a person can only be helped if they want to be helped.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. 1-800-610-7035, worldwide toll-free. Jeffrey Wands is our special guest. His website is www.jeffreywands.com. We're talking about Jeffrey's new book entitled Knock and the Door Will Open, 6 Keys to Mastering the Art of Living. All right, so we've got the 6 keys. How fast do people actually see a turnaround in their life? Does it depend on how hard they work, what they're going to put into it?
I think in my experience is anywhere from 2 to 4 months. I mean, it's a process because you got to rework the way you think and the way you're doing things, and I think it's a whole mindset. But I think if you just take the time to appreciate the little things and you work with those things, I've seen people turn their lives around tremendously. I'm not like trying to be a Svengali by any means. What I'm trying to do is just to offer some comfort in a difficult time to help people find their way and not be afraid of that.
Let me ask you this, Jeff. What is, in your opinion, the number one block that a person puts before themselves when trying to make or mastering a better life?
The fear, which is I can't do it, I'm afraid to do it. It goes back to the self-worth. It goes back to the fact that, oh my God, I don't believe I'm ever going to get to that place. So we're already, it's like people will say, I can't. Well, already you put a negative out saying you can't do something instead of the fact that you're willing to try something. So that would be the biggest part of this.
What are some of the little ones that you find people are able to take care of in a very short period of time and,
I'll give you
start
a
on the
perfect example.
road?
I had a woman, phenomenal cook, has been coming to me for years. wanted to cater, catered all the family functions, done all this stuff, and she was like petrified of doing a catering business and offering her food to the outside world. I said, don't you think already you've done your son's wedding, you've done your, your grandchildren's baptisms, you've done your husband's birthdays, you've done all this stuff. Don't you think right now the world is ready for you because you had friends and family and strangers and everybody else at these parties, and not anyone had any complaints about how wonderful and fantastic your food is. So sure enough, she did that. She started a baking line. She's got a cupcake store, and the rest is history. So it's like It's just so simple sometimes, but just that people don't want to see that.
Jeffrey, there's a lot of television shows these days that incorporate psychics with ghost hunting as a professional and very well-respected psychic medium. How do you find those shows? And
I'm not a fan of a lot of ghost hunters, and I don't want to make this sound cryptic by any means, but I find it to be that I've done enough Maury shows. I don't really work with any particular paranormal group. We've done stuff where they'll take me to a haunted house or they'll take me somewhere where somebody's having issues. I find it to be, and this is probably a generality, it's probably not fair to say this because I haven't worked with every ghost hunting group. I haven't worked with TAPS, so I can't say from that standpoint, but I find it to be a lot of times they try very hard to just basically get something that they want you to buy that's real. And I mean, to me, I've been to enough haunted places, I've been to enough things to know, what's real and what's not.
What's been your scariest moment?
Let me think. Maury had sent me to a house one time that had a person that had killed themselves in the house, and I had something fly off the shelf and almost hit me in the head. So I would say that was pretty scary.
So would you say that there definitely is a demonic side of life, negative spirits?
I would have to say to you there has to be, because there are negative people in the world. If that was the case, we'd have no murders, we'd have no rapes, we'd have no killings, we'd have nothing. So there has to be a negative force that's in the world, just like there's a negative force in the spirit world.
Then we'd have to change it from the United States of America to Utopia States of America.
Exactly, and it would make no sense. So I laugh with people because I'll get people that sit in front of me and say, I don't want to hear anything negative, I want to hear anything positive. So, I mean, come on. Life is not all positive.
What was it like working with Maury?
You know what? It was a lot. Maury's a great guy. Maury's a skeptic. I have to say Maury's very respectable in the sense that he treats me in a very good way. I mean, he hasn't come out with us. I'm working more with the producers. We've been all over the place. We went to the Eastern Penitentiary. That was an interesting experience. I've heard stuff. I've seen stuff. We actually even did an episode on their old studios. They moved their studios from the Pennsylvania Hotel, which is an old hotel in New York, to Stanford, which is the Stanford Theater now, which I have not really had time to really spend the night there, which I would like to, because it goes all the way back into the turn of the century, and there's a lot of activity there. But the Pennsylvania Hotel, I was actually able to pick up on somebody who actually jumped off during the Depression, and during the stock market crash, and lost all his money, and he came up during a little bit of a seance thing that we had done for Maury. So it was kind of cool because he gave me his name, and we were able to. The producers were able to locate it online, and when he died, and I'd given all the details.
How do you feel when you help bring closure to a family?
I think it's one of the most wonderful things in the world. Probably the hardest part of my job would be with kids.
Yeah.
I'm a dad. I have 2 boys. My greatest fear as a dad is losing my kids, just like I would be when I have people that sit before me. I mean, yes, there is human error sometimes. You get people that shouldn't die, that do die, and, you get into that element. But I would say, when somebody comes back to you a year from now or 2 years from now and says, you know what, you really helped me get through a bad time. You brought closure. I'm able to function. I lost my son, and, because of you. And I'm like, I always tell people, it's not so much me, it's the message. It's who comes through.
Jeff,
And how they're able to help that person.
You're a very compassionate person. How do you distance yourself enough so that the work that you do doesn't take its toll on you personally?
Well, that was one of the things we talked about the chapter. I mean, it gets... my kids will tease me. I will come home. They can tell when I sit with somebody, and they're like, oh, my God, who did you say... you must have seen somebody who just died in a car accident because you told me 4 times to be careful with my driving. So it's hard. I mean, I've been blessed in the sense that I recoup my energy very, very fast and very quick.
Now,
usually it'll take me maybe a couple of hours to bounce back.
When you see someone, let's say, who died in a traffic accident, do you see them as they were before the accident or as they appeared after the accident?
Usually I will see them with what went on. We had a situation here in New York where a very prominent doctor surgeon was killed crossing the street by some kid who was racing and proceeded to drag him down the street where he lost limbs and the whole bit, and he actually came through with limbs missing. So I think it was more so that his family would understand because they needed to know it was really him, and I just wasn't saying that it was him. So he gave me details. In other words, he was missing fingers, he was missing toes, because he was dragged like 3,000 feet.
What is the message that most spirits or most of those who are on the other side want to express to their loved ones when they come back for that glimmer in time?
Most of the time it's, we're okay, we got across, please don't worry about us, thank you for letting me go. It'll vary. I've had them come through and say, you know what, I don't want you to be happy. I mean, I had a woman I sat with, the husband was that miserable. And he's like, I don't want you to ever be happy again because I want you to be miserable that you lost me. And, not everything is kumbaya. It doesn't work that way.
So do you actually tell the woman that, hey,
I mean, in a nice way, I'll say to her, I got to tell you, he's not willing to let go of you. He's still all pissy about dying. He's still mad. He doesn't want you to have anybody else. You belong to him. And that can get ugly.
I would imagine so. We have to take our final break, Jeffrey. Please stand by. Exonation. Jeffrey Wands is our special guest. He is a renowned psychic medium. He's been on Maury, he's been on A&E, and he's got a new book, Knock and the Door Will Open, 6 Keys to Mastering the Art of Living. His website is www.jeffreywands.com, and we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. 1-800-610-7035, worldwide toll-free. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Jeffrey Wands and I will be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Hello, I'm Pete Marsh. With my daughter Justina, we will be presenting the new radio show, Too Good to Be True. If something seems too good to be true, it usually is. But with the help of Justina's amazing gifts, we're going to gain insight into questions that don't yet have complete answers. Have you wondered who built Stonehenge and for what reason? Why are crop circles found in the same region as Stonehenge and elsewhere? Are crop circles a hoax, or are they created with technologies that we have little knowledge of? Who built the pyramids in Egypt and also in other countries? How and why were they built? Was the Titanic switched with the Britannic as part of a gigantic insurance fraud, or for more insidious reasons? What caused the Tunguska event when trees were flattened over an 800 square mile area in Siberia? Will the new insights be too good to be true? Well, that will depend on what you are prepared to believe. Please join us as we start on this journey together. For more information on Too Good to Be True, visit www.xzbn.net.
Dreams are our personal gateways into infinite wisdom. Don't miss shamanic counselor and indigenously trained dream decoder Sandra Corcoran's inspiring book, Shamanic Awakening Between the Dark and the Daylight. This remarkable work chronicles Sandra's 35 years of experience with diverse wisdom keepers and her initiations throughout the Americas and across the British Isles, Turkey, Greece, and Egypt. Sandy's knowledge of symbology, psychology, and myth influence her dream blog and workshops. Sandy offers private tarot readings, international journeys, a meditative CD, as well as her book, Shamanic Awakening, to encourage you as you navigate this earth walk, creating a deeper connection to yourself and all that is. Find this and more at Sandy's website, starwalkervisions.com.
And welcome back, everyone. Jeffrey Wands is our special guest, www.jeffreywands.com. Jeffrey, as a psychic medium, has there ever been the time when you just had a hard time keeping it straight and serious with someone? That we're not talking about the people who might get under your skin, but the people who just are way out there. How do you deal with it?
I mean, I'm not to pick on anybody. I had a woman one time that came and she was convinced that she was abducted, and I was just laughing. I'm like, saying to myself, you know what? You don't need to believe that. You need to go get some psychological help because you're convinced that, you know, the little green men have picked you up and taken you to the promised land. And, you know, you get things like that. I mean, I can't say I don't doubt the existence of UFOs. I don't, you know, doubt the existence of intelligent life out there. I haven't experienced it, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm an expert. But, you know, you get stuff like that. I've had other people that have come that unfortunately have had mental illness, and they are so convinced that, you know, the government conspiracy and the government is watching them, and it's just sad. I mean, it's kind of like you laugh and then it's sad. You know, it's two extremes.
There are a lot of want-to-be psychic mediums out there these days, Jeffrey, and of course you can find tons of them on the largest septic receptacle ever created by mankind, the internet these days.
This is true.
What advice do you have for people when and if they're unable to get a reading from you for one reason or another, and they decide to go somewhere else? What are some of the red flags they should watch out for?
I mean, first of all, the person starts asking you questions. That's the first one. I've had people say to me, well, I went to this person, he asked me who died and who you want to reach. I mean, when I do my groups, I go directly to the individual. I don't say, hey, I'm over in this area. I go and say, I have this gentleman standing here, he's your dad, blah, 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 and I go directly in that way. But, I mean, everybody works differently. I think the more important thing is I would be cautious of anyone who advertises.
That would be the key.
I think advertising meaning like, you know, you see these Google ads or things like that where, you know, it's the psychic hotlines, you know, minute 99 and, you know, Madame Zola or whatever it is will answer your questions. I think you got to be careful with that stuff.
Yeah, I forget which news network did an expose on the psychic hotlines, and the vast majority of these people who are manning the lines never had a psychic experience, and they weren't psychics. They were just people who needed a job.
Agreed, and that doesn't surprise me. And unfortunately, in the times right now, I find it, especially up in the New York area, there are a lot of people that are putting their shingles out that really shouldn't be doing this.
Well, Jeffrey, I'm glad you're there doing what you do, and you're one of the guys that I go to for a psychic reading. We've had a lot on the show that I'd never have back, but you, my friend, are always more than welcomed here.
Well, thank you, Rob. I appreciate that.
Jeffrey, let our listeners know where they can get a copy of your book and how they can contact you for a reading.
Sure. If you go up to my website, it's Jeffrey Wands, and it's WANDS.com. The book is available on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, and I'm actually looking into maybe doing a little tour up in Canada, considering that I have some Canadian blood in me, so I think it's about time.
Yeah, you'll have to come up here, and we'll go down to the Stony Creek ice cream store together.
I would love. I'll buy, too, because
right.
you made me think about it.
Jeffrey Wands, thanks very much for joining us. Always a great pleasure talking to you. Continued success.
You too, Rob. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, Jeffrey. Jeffrey Wands has been my guest this hour, X-Zone. And once again, his website is www.jeffreywands.com. His book is entitled, Knock and the Door Will Open, 6 Keys to Mastering the Art of Living. It's available on his website or Amazon.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as the X-Zone continues from our studios in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.